on, everybody? Welcome back to Sundays with Strika. I am your host, Laika BB, aka Strika, and I just want to say thank you to everybody who watched my first episode last week. Got a good amount of views, and of course, we're also on Anchor as well, so thank you to everybody who listened on Anchor, and everybody who subscribed to the STRIKA'LITES YouTube channel, which we're on the road to 100 subs right now. Thank you, everybody, for subscribing as well. But with all that being said, let's get right into it for episode 2. It's been a crazy week, but there's one specific topic that has really been on my mind. Actually, not just for last week, but for the last several weeks, and it's seeing student athletes speak up for themselves and use their platform for good and for discussion. And I think it's something that has been really impressive, at least from my vantage point. I've been really impressed with some of the kids that have spoke up about certain issues within their schools, certain issues within like the return to sports around not just this state, but around the country. Yeah, by the way, if you see me smacking at a bug, it's been all over my room this morning. But if there's one, the ones I want to start with. First of all, this episode is entitled "Who Are the Real Adults?" That's the title of this episode. So let's get right into it. There's two brothers I want to start with out of Burlington, North Carolina, named Jaleel and Jayden Michael. Now, they both are huge basketball stars at the Burlington school. Led their team to a state championship appearance this past season. Unfortunately, they fell short by 3 points, but and also, unfortunately, they actually weren't able to play in that game due to injury because it just seemed like their team was really injury-ridden at the wrong time. And they still had a chance, though, but they're still two incredibly talented basketball players and even better people. Of course, Jaleel will be playing his college basketball at Mars Hill University, and Jayden, after committing to Wichita State, will be playing at Elon instead, which is a lot closer to home, and that was something that he took into consideration when choosing his final destination. So, first of all, congratulations to both of them. But in recent weeks, the two of them have voiced their concerns with the brass at the Burlington school in regards to how they have responded to sort of racial insensitivity, if you will, not specifically at the school, but in general, how they've like not spoken up about it. So the two of them threatened to not go to their graduation if the Burlington school did not did not create a statement of concern or something like that. And really, for the two of them to get their school to finally speak up on it was really, really cool. And when I talk about student athletes, I don't just mean college student athletes, which I will get to in this episode. I mean high school students too, for a plethora of issues. And these two brothers have also led protests throughout the city of Burlington over the last week or so. I think a couple weeks or so, and they've really shown great leadership and huge character. They're two huge character kids, and I talked about this actually with on my other podcast, Just Like Brothers podcast, which you should check out as well. I talked about this with Mars Hill's assistant men's basketball coach, Alex Biggerstaff. His recruiting class, which includes Jaleel, has been very vocal in speaking up about things that concern them, issues that concern them in society and in basketball too. And really to see Jaleel and Jayden take a step up and really tell their school to get their message straight. That was just really impressive, and I really got to give them a lot of credit for it. And like I said, they're two incredible basketball players. So Mars Hill and Elon, respectively, are getting two really, really good hoopers. but once again, just got to shout those two out because they really are part of a lot of student athletes that have spoken up for themselves in the last few weeks on not just social justice issues, but COVID-19 issues in regards to the return to sports, which I will get into now. Two young men one at East Surrey High School in Pilot Mountain, the one AA state champion, by the way, and the other at Richmond County High School, senior high school. The two, that a premier program in the 4A division. They'll have a chance to win states this year as well. But two young men wrote letters to the board of, I believe, to the Board of Education and specifically to North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper in regards to the return of sports. Obviously, with COVID-19 in the picture, not just in North Carolina, but around the country and around the world, it's been hard for high school sports programs, specifically fall sports, to get back to a sense of normalcy. So the first kid, Samuel Witt, who is probably going to be playing college football somewhere very nice. Offensive, I believe he plays offensive line at East Surrey, rising junior. He first got it started by writing a letter to Governor Roy Cooper, voicing his concerns for how high school kids need a sense of normalcy, and sports is kind of that safe haven for high school kids to forget about distractions and stuff like that. And there are a whole bunch of other things. You should check it out. It's on his Twitter page. I'll probably be able to tag that in the description below if you want to read it on the YouTube channel. But really just the gist of it was like trying to find a sense of normalcy and trying to convince the governor and the pretty much the entire political brass of North Carolina to get back to playing sports in any way possible. And then CJ Tillman, who's the kid from Richmond County that I was referring to earlier as well, I think a few days later, within the next week or so, he also sent a letter to Governor Cooper voicing similar concerns and pretty much saying, like, if we have to do like anything in our power that we will, like, if there's anything in our power we have to do, we will do it if it means we get sports back. Now, both the letters, I'm not going to say I necessarily agree with what both Samuel Witt and CJ Tillman said. However, I will say that a lot of adults would not have handled that better than those two kids did, and I have to give them a lot of credit and respect for voicing their concerns. Even whether I disagree or I agree, I think it was still great that they voiced their concerns about it. And it's a conversation that needs to be had as we go into July now, where the dead period for fall sports in the NCHSAA is supposed to end on July 6th for most of North Carolina, although I believe one school system has extended it to July 13th already. I think it was Wake County. But other than that, it was still really cool to see what these two kids did to speak up for their concerns and really handle it better than most adults would. I think I can definitely say that about those two. Another kid that has really put his front foot out there and been a huge leader for his school and for the fight against police brutality and the fight for social justice is rising senior Justin Bell out of Clayton High School. Kid's a great basketball player. He'll probably be playing college ball somewhere as well. He was very vocal in leading protests throughout the city of Clayton along with his fellow Clayton High students, and that was just incredible to see as well. I mean, here he is, a 16, 17-year-old kid that's going into the senior year of high school, and he's out here voicing his concerns about pretty much what has been a concern for several centuries, really, if we're being honest. But really just to see what he put together a couple weeks ago, at leading protests through Clayton for a several-day period. Very peaceful protests. Nobody got hurt that I know of in Clayton. But really just seeing him become a great leader for not just for the athletics program at Clayton, but for the entire school. It's something that really, really resonated with me personally, because I've known this kid for a while. Like I first met him at this basketball camp at Mount Olive, and he was a great leader out there as well. And he truly showed that he can be a leader on the basketball court and off of it. And a lot of kids need to be like this. And it doesn't necessarily have to be social issues, but just like being a leader just by acting right, making the right decisions, and on the court showing out and having fun while doing it. I mean, it's really something that resonated with me, seeing Justin lead protests throughout the city of Clayton, along with countless other Clayton High students. And really not just a shout out to Justin Bell, but to the entire Clayton High School community and the city of Clayton for putting something together like that. And I personally thought it was really cool. Of course, Justin is really, really talented basketball player, and like Jaleel and Jayden Michael, like I mentioned earlier, they're both, all three of them are going to be playing. Actually, really, the first 5 people I've talked about on the show are all going to be playing in college because they're that talented. That's the other thing about this. It's not just that they're really smart kids in the classroom, is that they're also like really good at the sport they play. Like Sam Witt is a beast offensive lineman. CJ Tillman, I believe he recently got offered by Charleston Southern. And of course, like I said, Jaleel and Jayden, I mean, they're going to be playing. They're already graduating. They already graduated, and they're going to be playing at the Division I and D2 college basketball levels. So for the 5 of them to speak up the way they have, it's been really cool to see. And honestly, whether you agree or disagree, you gotta give the kids some credit for taking a stand for themselves. And like I said, most adults will not handle a situation like this better than the 5 of them have. Whether I disagree with what they said or what they did, or whether I agree with it. So it's something that they definitely have to be commended for. But really, the next topic I wanted to talk about was the situation at Liberty University in Lynchburg, Virginia. Of course, obviously, brass and school leaders up there have caught a lot of concern from really just about everywhere now. Like, of course, first they were going to bring back their students back to normal, like with COVID-19, like they were going to bring their students back to school with like no restrictions or anything. And then there was some concern within the school's athletic program, not just for students and for the fan base, but for the kids that were playing. And the first person I want to talk about, there's a reference that I've been trying to continue to remember in my head for this episode so I can use it. So yeah, so I'm sure you guys know the show Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's a great show. It's one of my favorite cartoons, if not my favorite cartoon ever. And really, just I could talk about it for days and months and years how good that show was. But something specifically from that show resonates with the young student athletes I plan on talking about for this portion of the show. The main female protagonist character, Katara, of course, is a waterbender, as you guys know. I'm telling you basic stuff, but there's a specific episode from season 3 where she meets an old lady named Hama, who was a bloodbender, as eventually it gets found out that she's a bloodbender, and she tries to teach Katara the ways of getting water out of anything, from nature itself, from like the flowers, from like grass and stuff, and eventually from blood. And eventually Hama forces Katara into a fight where she has to bloodbend to win the fight. And Katara herself believes, bloodbending does not align with Katara's moral compass, and it shows because the rest of the series, Katara only bloodbends only one other time, and that was when they were on the hunt to find, when Zuko and Prince Zuko, who's probably my favorite character, and Katara go to find who killed Katara's mother. And when Katara initially thinks that they found the person and bloodbends that person. Oh my goodness, it was bad. Bloodbends that person into until she realizes that it's not the person who killed her mother. But really, other than that, that is the only other time Katara bloodbends in the entire series. And it's, like I said, bloodbending for Katara, who's an incredible waterbender, of course, as everybody knows that. But bloodbending was not a part of Katara's moral compass. Like, something that she wouldn't do. She would never do. And if anything, it would have to be something serious. But either way, she probably still wouldn't do it. But yeah, that's really the moral of that little portion of season 3 in Avatar: The Last Airbender, which everybody should check out. If you've never seen that show, you will love the show, even if you've never seen it before and don't understand what's going on. Character arcs, all that stuff. But like I said, this is mostly a sports show. But I said the show is on sports in perspective, so there's a little bit of a reference in perspective to the first person that I want to talk about in this little segment as I transition into it. Asia Todd. Asia Todd, of course, is the all-time leading scorer in the history of Clayton women's basketball. She's also famously known for being double-teamed in a playoff game, the entire second half of a playoff game. And that was whether she had the ball or not. There were 2 people on her at all times. And as a side note, it did work. The team that did this actually did win that playoff game. But still, that's one of the craziest things I've ever seen. That's how good Asia Todd is at basketball, by the way. When you get double teamed for an entire half of basketball because you're that good at basketball, that's just absolutely ridiculous. But I know I'm getting sidetracked on that from that Avatar stuff and from that story I just told. But Asia Todd recently transferred from Liberty and entered her name in the transfer portal due to racial insensitivity shown by the school's leaders, and also said that the views of the school's leaders do not align with her moral compass. See, there's the connection. Like that was the connection I was trying to make. And eventually, her decision made national news, and she's been interviewed by countless national news outlets, including, well, we're not really a national news outlet, but myself and Kai Jones got the privilege to interview her last week actually, and she really further explained why the views of her school just didn't align with what her ideals are. And honestly, that decision was huge because it caused a ripple effect in not just Liberty, but just about everywhere across the country. But really, it was really at Liberty that this happened. And that leads me to the Liberty football program. I'll get back to Asia Todd in just a second. Actually, you know what? No, I'll stick with it. Asia is now committed to play at the University of Central Florida in Orlando. She's, of course, one of the best three-point shooters in women's college basketball. Shot over 40% from three. Started 25 of Liberty's 31 games on a really good team. But her decision to leave was not about basketball. It was just about the school itself and how it didn't align with her moral compass. So really just, you have to commend Asia for stepping up and explaining why she had to make this decision, which decisions like that are tough, especially when you initially feel that Liberty was a great fit basketball-wise. And it was, because Liberty has a good women's basketball program. They've consistently been a winner, and of course they were in the Big South now. They just moved to the Atlantic Sun Conference. But really just seeing the decision she made and how well it was received by not just the community but nationally. It was received glowingly, and rightfully so, because it was an unprecedented decision that kind of caused a ripple effect in college sports and really high school sports too. Like, just to see, like, this is a 19-year-old woman making a decision like this. That I know it hurt, because of course she loved playing basketball there. It's just the school just did not align with what she believes, what her ideals are, and she deserves so much credit. I really believe it's strong to make a decision of that caliber at a school that has a great women's basketball program, and now she'll be playing at another school that has a great women's basketball program. So we definitely wish Asia the best of luck at UCF. And yeah, absolutely, she's gonna have a great tenure out there too. So UCF, you're getting a hell of a basketball player. But to continue with Liberty, Asia Todd's decision caused a ripple effect in Liberty's athletic program, because 3 football players also decided, for the same reason as Asia Todd, to enter their name into the transfer portal as well. Starting with Tavion Land, who plays out of the Virginia Beach area, was a class of 2019 4-star prospect, and originally committed to play at Liberty. And at the time, that was Liberty's highest rated football prospect that has ever come to their school. And then, like Asia, Tavion announces that he's entering his name into the transfer portal for pretty much the same reason Asia Todd mentioned in her announcement. And it also led to players like Kytrell Clark. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly, but he goes by Trey Clark. And if I did pronounce that wrong, I apologize. But Tavion Land and Trey Clark, who right after Tavion's announcement, Trey puts out the same announcement saying racial insensitivity shown by the school's leaders. And he's putting his name in the transfer portal, and then Waylon Kozad as well. So that's 3 football players from the same school who announced their transfer, for 3 football players and 1 women's basketball player in the span of 2 or 3 days, that said, we don't want to be here because the school does not align with what our ideals are. And it was just something that really caused a ripple effect in college sports. And you're not going to be, people should not be surprised when more kids start to do this, and it's for that reason. And honestly, it's just been, and I know I just talked about 9 different student athletes in high school and college, but really just these 4 were the ones that I really wanted to talk about, because for them to do that at a time like this where it just seems like there's tension all over this place, and for them to come out and decide we're going to make a stand for ourselves, we're going to choose to do what's right, we're going to choose to do something that we believe will help our athletic careers, our academic careers, and really just to see what these young men and women have been doing really just the last several weeks has been nothing short of amazing. And really seeing the support that they've gotten from not just their own peers, but from adults too. And that's why I really named this episode "Who Are the Real Adults?" Because honestly, these 9 have shown that sometimes the real adults may not actually be adults. Like it might be people that have have really good character, really good morals, and just understand what's going on. And I mean, they are young adults already. I mean, these kids are all teenagers. I mean, honestly, well, teenagers and above, I should say. But really, these nine student athletes deserve a lot of credit. And it's not just them. There are countless others I didn't name. And if I didn't name them, I apologize. Or maybe I just haven't read up enough. But really just to see the amount of support that they've gotten for their respective issues that they're trying to attack and counter, it's just been really cool. So once again, Jaleel and Jayden Michael from the Burlington School, Sam Witt from East Surrey, CJ Tillman from Richmond County, Justin Bell from Clayton, Asia Todd, who's now going to be at UCF playing basketball, and then of course Tavion Land, Trey Clark, and Waylon Kozad, who we will probably see sooner rather than later where they will be playing college football next. Of course, I don't know when those 3 will be making their decisions, but when they do, people will definitely know when that will take place. So definitely just really, really cool to see these athletes take a stand for what they believe is correct. And honestly, that's really what I have for this episode, man. Of course, this is Sundays with Strika, episode 2. My name is Laika Bibi, aka Strika. You can follow me on Twitter at StrikaNation24_ and at STRIKA'LITES on all social media platforms for prep sports and even college sports content. I've gotten a lot of mixtapes up. I have one on Bobby Pettiford from South Granville, and Kobe Jones from was at South Granville, now is at Bull City Prep. So go check those out. Also did some workout vids for some future JUCO products, DeAndre Wright and Charles Walker, which you should check out. Did workout videos for We Up Athletic Group, which is also on the channel. And let's see, what else we have? We also got Runs from the Dungeon, which is located here in Greenville, about 5 minutes from where I'm currently living at. But I've gotten plenty of stuff from open runs featuring some kids in Eastern North Carolina that have a chance to be really special. There's a lot of basketball content on my YouTube channel, which you should subscribe to. STRIKA'LITES on YouTube. You should sub to that. Listen to this on the YouTube channel and on Anchor. And I believe we also got picked up by a few other podcasting platforms. So that's also really cool. Of course, once again, I just want to say thank you to everybody for the support. And once again, my name is Laika Bibi, aka Strika. This is Sundays with Strika, and we will see you again next week. Peace out.